You've probably seen the haunted Annabelle doll from the movie, but did you know the real one looks like this? It's just a Raggedy Ann doll, and you're probably thinking, oh, it looks cute. Stop! That's a demon, buddy. So let's talk about the true haunting of the Annabelle doll. Now this is recounted by Ed and Lorraine Warren, so if you believe in them, then this is obviously a true story, but if you think they're frauds, then you're not going to believe this story either. But it depends on what you believe. Anyway, welcome to Blazers Unknown, where we cover things that are paranormal, unexplainable, or just a bit weird. So let's get into the story. So the year is 1970, and a nursing student named Donna received a doll from her mother. The doll wasn't from any place weird, it was just from a hobby shop. Now Donna lived in an apartment with her roommate named Angie. At first everything was normal, but slowly Donna realized something was weird. Occasionally she would notice that the Annabelle doll had moved slightly. It would be really small movements like Annabelle's legs being crossed, or she'd be sitting in a different position to when she put her. But it was nothing crazy, so she thought, maybe I'm just imagining things, or I forgot where I put her. It wasn't enough for her to be alarmed. But Annabelle's movements would increase as the days go by. One day, Annabelle was sitting on Donna's bed when the girls went out for the day. And when they came home, Annabelle had moved onto the couch. When they saw this, they both agreed that yeah, this isn't something we're imagining, something weird is happening. Things progressed even more, and the Annabelle dolls started writing messages to them. The girls would find messages written on parchment paper, and the messages said help us or help Lou, which was Angie's boyfriend. The weirdest thing being, none of them owned parchment paper in the apartment, so where did it come from? Again another day, Donna came home and Annabelle was sitting on her bed. When she picked up the Annabelle doll, there were drops of blood on the Annabelle's hands and chest, and this was the incident that made her freak out. So Donna takes the doll to a local medium, and the medium says, this is possessed, we need to hold a seance to see what's going on. When the medium comes to the house, they hold the seance. And during the seance, the medium gets a message from a 7-year-old girl named Annabelle Higgins. She explains that Annabelle used to live where the house was built, but she died one day. The medium also told the girls that the spirit wasn't harmful, Annabelle just feels comfortable and wants to be with them. So when they heard this, they felt bad for Annabelle, so they gave her permission to inhabit the doll, which is probably the one thing they shouldn't have done. Why though? Let's talk about Lou, Angie's boyfriend. Now in my opinion, Lou sounds like the only normal person in this story. He hated the Annabelle doll as soon as he saw it. He was like, hell no. And he told Donna to get rid of it. But because it was a present from Donna's mom, she felt attached to the doll and didn't listen to Lou. One day Lou had been sleeping and he had a nightmare. In his nightmare, the Annabelle doll slid up from the end of his bed and slowly went up his body. Lou was paralyzed and Annabelle kept moving up towards his chest. Then Annabelle started to choke him and he blacked out. The next morning he woke up and he was confused if that was a nightmare or if it actually happened. The next day, Lou and Angie are preparing for a road trip in the apartment. Suddenly they heard rustling noises in Donna's room and Lou thought someone had broken in. He slowly walked up to the door and he stood still to wait until it was quiet. He opened the door and entered slowly and he saw nothing, except the Annabelle doll had been tossed into the corner. He goes and picks up the doll, but as he does, he gets a weird feeling that something's standing behind him. He turns around and then he sees nothing again. But suddenly he feels a tightness in his chest and then he falls over and he's bleeding. When he took his shirt off, he could see 7 different claw marks and he described them as hot burns. These scratch marks would heal after 2 days. So when Donna came home, Lou and Angie told her everything that had happened. They said Lou had been attacked by Annabelle, and at this point, Donna finally realized, yeah, maybe this isn't a very friendly spirit. Enter Ed and Lorraine Warren. Not yet, actually, sorry. Donna contacted a local priest. The priest's name was Father Hagen, and she told him that she might think this Annabelle doll is possessed by a demon. Father Hagen listened to her story and he was like, yeah, that's a bit above my pay grade. And so he contacted his higher up, Father Cook. Father Cook listened to the story and was like, yeah, that's a bit above my pay grade. And then he contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren. So the Warrens talk to Donna about the situation and they come to the conclusion that this doll isn't possessed, but it's being controlled by an inhuman spirit, because they said spirits can't possess inanimate objects, only people. They said this demonic presence was in the infestation stage of possession because it needed to find a human host. Ed and Lorraine said that if they waited a few more weeks, then someone could have got seriously hurt or even killed. So they did an exorcism on the apartment to stop this demon. Father Cook, who was the second priest they contacted, was going to do the exorcism, but he didn't really feel confident about it. He read out the 7-page exorcism, which wasn't an exorcism to get rid of evil, but an exorcism to bring in the power of good and God into the house, so then the evil spirits leave. So yeah, I'm not an expert on exorcisms, but that's what they did. After this exorcism, they said that the house was safe now, and Ed and Lorraine decided to take Annabelle with them. Lorraine felt an evil hatred coming from the doll, so she warned Ed, please don't take the highway on the drive home. That was the right call, because as they were driving home, the car would swerve and turn, and even the brakes stopped working. At multiple points in the drive, they almost crashed into other cars, but as Ed was driving, he grabbed a bottle of holy water, chucked it in the back, and splashed it all across Annabelle, and there weren't any more incidents after that. Pretty Chad move, not gonna lie. The next incidents with Annabelle didn't happen until they returned home. When they put the Annabelle doll on Ed's desk, he said the doll would levitate a bit and then fall down. Over the next few weeks, they would report the doll would move around the house. Like when they get home, Annabelle would be sitting on the couch at the front door, or the Annabelle doll would be at Ed's desk. They would just find it moving everywhere around the house. One day, one of Ed's friends, Jason Bradford, would come over. He was an exorcist, and when he saw Annabelle sitting in the chair, he ran up to it, picked it up, and started yelling at Annabelle, saying, "You're just a doll, you can't hurt anyone." Then he threw Annabelle back into the chair. He was honestly provoking for no reason. Ed watched this happen, and he said, "Hey man, that was probably the one thing I wouldn't say to her." When Jason left, Lorraine was really worried about him, so she warned him to be safe and to call her when he gets home. They were also worried because on their drive home with Annabelle, they had a lot of close calls, so they were just worried about him driving home. He wasn't worried though, so he said bye and he left. A few hours later though, Lorraine would get a phone call from Jason. He said that his brakes failed at an intersection and he got into a car crash and he almost died. So after that incident, the Warrens decided to build a case around Annabelle, and that's where Annabelle lives to this day. After they sealed her away, there have been no more movements because she's trapped and still lives in the occult museum. The only other thing I want to mention about the Annabelle case is when a motorcyclist and his girlfriend visited the Annabelle doll, he thought it was funny, so he started slamming on the Annabelle door and just laughing. When Ed saw him doing that, he kicked him out of the museum. Now on their drive home, he was driving a motorcycle and he ended up crashing into a tree and they both died. That's everything that happened with the Annabelle doll. So I want to talk about a few things. Firstly, with this motorcycle thing, I couldn't find any information about it besides from Ed and Lorraine Warren, which makes me think it could be made up. Like if an Annabelle doll caused that crash, I feel like that would be a headline and everyone would want to hear about it, but there's nothing. Also, I tried researching about Father Cook and Father Hegan, but again, I couldn't find anything. I could only find them mentioned from Ed and Lorraine Warren. Now, it could be because this was in the 70s and 80s and there was no internet. Things only got passed around through the newspaper. And back in the day, I think if you're talking about ghosts and stuff and hauntings, people would think you're crazy and they wouldn't listen to you. But do I think this story is for real or it's fake? I'm going to put on the fake hat. I did think this story was real before I researched it, but considering I can't find any information on anything besides from Ed and Lorraine Warren, that makes me a bit suspicious that it's just made up. But yeah, that's about it for the Annabelle story. If you liked it, maybe subscribe. And yeah, thank you for watching. See ya.